And then Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, if you can't be Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg, and if you're not going to actually buy those stocks, how do you outperform them? Well, Bitcoin is double. Bitcoin is 4 to 5 times better than the S&P index, right? It's a pretty compelling chart. You might say, well, it's just the last 4 years. But the truth is, Bitcoin's the best asset in 11 of the past 14 years. This has been the story for 15 years now. If you look at every other asset class, well, you've got one that's up 147% a year on average since 2011. The next best is 16, and everything else is just languishing, right? There's a signal there. It's screaming at you.
According to Michael Saylor, Bitcoin is at the center of the next financial revolution, which is already underway. Saylor claims that the years 2025 to 2035 will mark a turning point in our history and could determine how wealthy, powerful, and financially independent we are in the future. He cautions that Bitcoin will emerge as the world's most sought-after asset as institutional adoption quickens and global confidence in money declines. Almost all 21 million Bitcoins will have been mined by the end of this decade. Additionally, the window for gaining significant exposure may close permanently due to the surge in demand from countries, businesses, and investors. Saylor calls this the final land grab before Bitcoin becomes digital real estate for the world's elite. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications before we delve further. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Bitcoin is spread across hundreds of millions of people. Probably 500 million people know what this is, and they're all very passionate about it in a way that they're not passionate about maybe Saudi Aramco or Meta stock. It's the most interesting because something is happening every minute of the day. You know, it crashed at 90,000 2 days ago. People are losing their minds. Smashed through 100,000. My phone's ringing off the hook. It's always moving. Much more interesting than these other things. It's pure digital. Something that, if you can wire $1 billion from one iPhone to another Android phone between 6 billion people in a split second, that becomes very interesting and very digital, right? You can't digitize silver, you can't digitize gold. Most of these other things are just securities. You can't even take custody of your own security. You can't trade those securities on Saturday afternoon. So Bitcoin is pure digital asset. It's useful. How useful? You can, if you need $1 billion in 5 minutes on Saturday afternoon and your life depended upon it, there's only one thing up there that will actually give it to you. Only one thing. People, what's the consequence of that? Well, it's volatile, it's interesting. And lastly, it's global. The Magnificent Seven stocks are really just Western. They're United States, a little bit of Western Europe. Saudi Aramco is Middle East. You don't see any Chinese companies up there, right? And so Bitcoin is very, very rare combination of things that make it interesting to billions of people around the planet. Now, what happens when I put Bitcoin on my asset allocation chart here? Well, it just punches a hole in it, right? Like when I didn't put Bitcoin up there first because you wouldn't see anything else. Everything else is relatively uninteresting against 60%. What you see up there is there's an answer, and then there's a bunch of noise. There's a signal, and there's a bunch of noise. And if we look at it, that's 60% for 4 years. And when you look at it against this chart, this makes it much simpler. You have a bunch of money, lockdowns come along. In August of 2020, you can buy bonds, you can buy gold, you can buy real estate. All three of those don't beat the S&P index. They don't beat the hurdle rate. Gold is only half as powerful. If you capitalize your entire bank on bonds, well, you end up with Silicon Valley Bank, right? Your bank goes bankrupt. Bonds are an awful investment. The Magnificent Seven, good idea. Buy the 7 greatest companies in the world. Okay, good idea. That doubles the S&P, right? You can outperform if you just buy the good ones. Now I've laid out the problem. Let's talk about the Bitcoin solution. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin's the next wave. Today it is the 7th largest asset in the world. And you can count them, right? Number 1 asset in the world, gold. 5,000 year head start. If you're not 5,000 years old, if you don't want to wait 5,000 years, you're in the right place because I'm going to give you a fast track. After that, you got the Magnificent Seven. You got NVIDIA, you got Apple, you got Microsoft, you got Amazon, you got Alphabet, you got Meta. And then just creeping in there, you've got some silver, and then you've got Saudi Aramco. But if you look at this, what you'll see is that the fastest horse in the race, the one that's actually moving up the leaderboard the fastest, is Bitcoin. 62% a year, ARR. Not for the past year, not for the past 4 years, not for the past 6 years, for the past 10, ever since it started, more than 62% a year. That's just the past 4 years, though. And it is running to the top, and it will run past all the Magnificent Seven, and it will run past gold, and I'm going to show you why in the rest of my presentation. Now, it's not just the seventh largest, right? It's the fastest growing. It is the most popular in the world. Most popular asset.
Although gold has a 5,000 years advantage, Bitcoin is rapidly catching up. It is currently being used, held, and the basis for future technologies by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. Bitcoin is currently the world's seventh largest asset, and its growth is outpacing that of everything else. It is currently the best performing asset of our time, with an average return of more than 60% annually over the last 10 years. Bitcoin's strength lies in more than simply its functionality. Anyone with a smartphone may access it because it is digital, portable, and constantly available. No government, no bank, and no border can stop it. Bitcoin is quickly becoming the most efficient store of value on the planet, and the race is just getting started. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now let's dive back into the interview.
And then Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, if you can't be Bezos, Musk, and Zuckerberg, and if you're not going to actually buy those stocks, how do you outperform them? Well, Bitcoin is double. Bitcoin is 4 to 5 times better than the S&P index, right? It's a pretty compelling chart. You might say, well, it's just the last 4 years. But the truth is, Bitcoin's the best asset in 11 of the past 14 years. This has been the story for 15 years now. If you look at every other asset class, well, you've got one that's up 147% a year on average since 2011. The next best is 16. And everything else is just languishing, right? There's a signal there. It's screaming at you. But the point that I want to make here is that Bitcoin's the fastest growing alternative investment for high net worth individuals in the world. You know, if you think about it from first principles, it's by far the easiest. You know, it's not easy to buy buildings or buy, you know, Paul McCartney's music rights or buy natural gas pipelines. But you can buy $20 a Bitcoin, 200, 2,000, 20 million, 200 million, 2 billion, 20 billion. And it doesn't matter how much you buy. You have the same exact property rights, the same exact asset as everybody else. This is very compelling. I say to people sometimes, you're trying to figure out what to buy to give to your kids or grandkids. Buy something that passes the Bernard Arnault test. Buy something that a person richer than you, more cultured than you, will want to buy from you in a decade, right? If the billionaires want it now, they're going to want your Bitcoin in a decade. If they want your Bitcoin in a decade, then the price is going up. It's not going down. You'll always find a willing market for it. 70 public companies right now are capitalizing on Bitcoin. In August of 2020, that number was 0, and MicroStrategy was the first. And since then, we're starting to see a viral effect. This is an economic dynamic spreading virally around the world. Why? Because public companies can issue millions or billions of dollars of securities every week, and they can do it again, over and over again. So once a public company capitalizes on Bitcoin, they don't just buy 10 million a year or 10 million a week. We went to the market and we raised $1 billion in a convertible bond 1 week. It worked out well. The next week we did it again. The next quarter we did it again. The next quarter we did it again. Last quarter we started to raise $1.5 billion, and then we decided to make it 2, and then we decided at the end of the day to make it 3. So when you're playing with public company money, the amount of capital here is orders of magnitude more than you would see with private corporations. And as each one of these flip, if the miners flip, they go from selling Bitcoin to buying it. And another example, Mara up there, they went and did a convertible bond offering 1 week for something like $800 million. They came back the next week and did another $600 I think they did $1 billion the first week and then like $800 million the next week. And so these are very, very powerful actors in this space. And every major market, this is spreading. Here's a snapshot of Bitcoin ETFs versus the commodity ETFs. What you can see, like we're looking at silver and gold and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's the winner. Gold is the second best commodity. And there really isn't a third, right? The rest are just trading vehicles. You're not going to actually hold any other commodity for any material period of time. So Bitcoin is generally just eating all the commodity ETFs. This is Bitcoin against the bond ETFs. What you can see here is, all the bonds are kind of slow, sleepy money, and Bitcoin is blowing past all of them, right? Do you want 4% return a year, or do you want 99%? There used to be a 60-40 bond portfolio, 60% equity, 40% bond. Now Bitcoin's creeping in to be 1 to 3% of those portfolios. It'll move to 5 to 10% of those portfolios. As it does, the price of Bitcoin is going to skyrocket.
Michael Saylor makes his point quite obvious. Bitcoin has evolved from a fringe asset to the new standard for performance and wealth protection. In contrast to conventional assets such as commodities, hedge funds, or real estate, Bitcoin is incredibly accessible. With an investment of $20 billion or $2 billion, you will receive the same asset with the same property rights. Furthermore, the wealthiest and most influential players in the globe are drawn to Bitcoin. The floodgates have been opened by public firms such as MicroStrategy, who have raised billions of dollars through bond sales and invested them in Bitcoin. This is a tidal wave, not a trend. From having no exposure to public companies in 2020, Bitcoin is currently listed on the balance sheets of more than 70 companies, and that number is rapidly increasing. These businesses aren't merely dabbling in the market, they're returning time and time again, each time raising more money. With practically limitless firepower behind it, that generates a completely new level of demand. In contrast, the majority of hedge funds, once seen to be the height of elite investing, are underperforming, while common folks who just purchased Bitcoin, such as bartenders, Uber drivers, and airplane mechanics, are outperforming them all. It is clearly a revolution that is upending the whole financial industry. According to Saylor, if billionaires are interested in Bitcoin now, they will be even more so in 10 years, and demand will continue to push the price upward. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for more valuable content, and as always, happy investing.